Hey everybody, so the 4 no-nos we covered in our class, the first one we talked about is the ready position. People not being ready, they have their paddle to the side, they're too upright. So remember, the ready position is your weight a little bit forward, your weight is on your toes. You don't have to be on your toes, you just need to have the weight on the balls of your feet, all right? And so the weight's on the balls of your feet, not on your heels. And then your paddle is out in front of you, your knees are bent just a little bit, about 4 to 6 inches. Paddle's out in front of you, elbows away from your body like you're driving a car, not into your body, out about 4 to 6 inches. Paddle here either 12 o'clock or 10 o'clock. This is the ready position. Now, one way you can practice this is just simply, you can just sort of practice squatting down in front of a mirror, just to have your paddle down here and then move it up like this to get in that position where you're on the balls of your foot. Just do that about 8 or 10 times in front of a mirror. All right, or you can just do it without a mirror, just go outside. But get used to developing that muscle memory of getting your knees bent and the paddle out in front of you. The other thing you can do is you can act like you're walking through the transition zone, where you can take a couple of steps and you can stop and you can pounce like that. Or you can actually run up a couple steps and then get in your ready position. That's the first exercise to practice. So the other thing that we talked about is in our lesson is going to the transition zone. Now that's very difficult to practice at home, but one way that you can practice that is when you do play a game with somebody, tell your partner, say, hey, I'm really working on trying to transition and get to the no volley zone line. So if you find that I'm standing in the middle here in the no man's land, just remind me to keep moving forward, all right? And just have some accountability to help you make that transition. Okay, the third mistake that is common, a no-no as we refer to it, a mistake among novice and low intermediate players, is the fact that they don't have an ideal hitting zone. They just are always reacting to the ball, here, there, everywhere, rather than developing a consistent stroke and then trying to position your body to stay within that stroke. And so we talked about the ideal hitting zone as this imaginary V here from our body. And so as much as we can be in the ready position and we can hit the ball inside of this zone right here with our knees slightly bent, all right? If you're at the net and you're dinking, this is your dink stroke, all right? And if you're at the mid-court, you might have to take a step, but once again, inside this ideal hitting zone. If you're trying to hit a third shot drop, which is one of our later classes, it's very important that you catch the ball out in front of you to do a third shot drop. So once again, where do you want the ball? Out here in front of you in your ideal hitting zone to hit that third shot drop. So also your serve is the same position here, except it's a longer stroke. So it's very important to learn about this V and to try to practice staying inside of this V with my strokes. 2 ways you can practice this. One is that you can actually just be at home in front of a mirror in your ready position, take your paddle and just do some of these right here. And you can actually look in the mirror to be sure you're hinging with your shoulder, not hitting with your elbow or hitting with your wrist. A lot of novice players, they like to pound it with their wrist, or they hit this shot with their elbow and then they loft it up so it's slammed back at them. You want this to be a hinge from your shoulder. Your elbow can be bent, but the primary contact is with moving your shoulder, not your elbow or your wrist. So you can practice that in front of a mirror, just watching yourself, developing that muscle memory of using that stroke. And the second thing you can do is, this is a thing that I have set up at my house on my back deck here, is I have a ping pong table, half of a ping pong table right here, and I have it on its side. I have this line right here, which is at 34 inches, which is the sign of the net or the height of the net at mid-court. And I have a little target here, and sometimes I'll put additional targets on this board. Now this combines our third no-no, which is not having an ideal hitting zone, with the fourth no-no, which is the temptation we have to pick our head up. When you pick your head up, what do? You pick your shoulders up, you tend to loft the ball, or you miss the sweet spot on the paddle. So another exercise you can do that combines our third lesson and our fourth lesson, keeping your head down and using your ideal hitting zone, is to get some sort of a board or a wall. You can do this in your garage, and just sort of practice hitting the ball, keeping your head down like this. And I have this tape here, and I just sort of keep my head down and I try to hit that without even looking up at it. And I will do hundreds of these at a time. Just work on keeping my head down, using my ideal hitting zone. My knees are slightly bent, and this practices hand-eye coordination, and it also practices using that ideal hitting zone. Now the last exercise I'm going to give you, which relates to our fourth no-no, which is keeping your head down, is just to do some hand-eye coordination drills. One thing you can do is just do these right here. Start by doing 10, 20, 30, 50, all right? And then eventually you get to do 100, and then you can start timing yourself and do as many as you can over 2 or 3 minutes. Forehand, backhand, just keeping it alive, and then you do some alternating ones like this right here. Back, front, back, front, back. And so get to where you should be able to do 50 and then ideally 100 and more, to where you can just do these endlessly without even moving your feet. It just works on hand-eye coordination. And then when you get really good, you can start doing these right here. See if I can get one here. So these are some different hand-eye coordination drills that will help you to keep your head down, practice hitting the ball in the center of the paddle, and they help your development. So these are exercises you can do following the fundamentals class that we went through. Remember, transition through the no volley zone line. Don't stop in no man's land, all right? Be in the ready position. Use your ideal hitting zone, and be sure to keep your head down when you hit the ball, watching the ball to your paddle and actually your paddle through the ball before you pick your head up. If you do those things, I promise you're going to start to see some improvements.